Hi, I'm Bill Bradley. Join me for a recent excerpt of American Voices.
This ball is crushed.
You might think you know everything there is to know about baseball, but my next guest has a baseball secret, and he's not telling anyone. You see, baseballs that are used in the major leagues have a little bit of mud rubbed on them. It's a certain kind of mud, made in a certain way. Jim Bintliff makes that mud, harvests that mud.
I'm going to fill the containers now.
It's a family business he inherited. His company's called Lena Blackburne Baseball Rubbing Mud. Jim Bintliff is with me now. Jim, welcome to American Voices.
Hey, how you doing, Senator?
So who was Lena Blackburne?
He was a ball player in the early 1900s. He played for the Chicago White Sox in 1913, 1914. He spent his life in baseball. He played for years, and when he finished playing, he went on to managing and scouting, and he was all baseball all the time.
And so how did your grandfather get involved in all of this?
Lena and my grandfather were good friends. They grew up as neighbors, and they were always hanging around together. And they used to fish and swim at this spot where we get the mud, and it just went on from there, started there.
Bob, tell me, why do players need mud rubbed on a baseball?
When they get the baseball, the new baseballs for the game, they take them out of the box, and they're coated with a factory coating that's real slippery and shiny. It looks kind of like a pearl. They call them pearls because they look like pearls coming out of the box. When a player in the heat of a game, they're sweating, there's all kinds of things going on.
Sure.
They get sweat on their hand, and that coating would slip right out of their fingers. They wouldn't be able to get any kind of grip on a baseball. What my mud does is it's a super fine abrasive, and it takes that factory gloss off the baseball and gives it a property that makes it easier to grip. And it doesn't discolor the ball too much. It doesn't damage the leather or the laces. It just takes that fine gloss off the ball.
Did your grandfather teach you about making the mud?
Yeah, my grandfather a little bit. Most of my mud history is with my father and my brothers and sisters. My grandfather when he took over the mud and brought it to my family, he was in his 80s, and he really wasn't overly involved in the process, and it went pretty much directly to my father, and that's where I got most of my know-how.
And so you grew up helping your father?
Yes, sir. The first time I harvested mud was with my grandfather, but after that, it was all my father.
When you say harvest the mud, what do you do?
Well, we take our shovels and our buckets, and we go to the bank of a waterway, and we take our mud off the bank of the waterway.
So this is a tributary on the Delaware River?
Yes, it's a tributary of the Delaware in South Jersey. And we get on the New Jersey side.
What's the name of the river?
That's the part I don't give out.
Secret. Okay.
That's the secret location.
Okay, so you go at the secret location in a tributary of the Delaware River with a shovel, and you dig out mud from the bottom of the tributary, right?
Well, not so much the bottom, from the banks.
The banks.
Tributary, and it's more the top layers that we use. If we were to go too deep, it gets darker and it'll get a smell to it. So we pretty much stay on the top couple layers.
So if I went to the commissioner of baseball and told him about this mud, he would know what I'm talking about.
He might. He should.
He better, right?
There's people playing baseball that don't know about it. They just know that they like the way the ball feels. It's unique, definitely unique, and there hasn't been anybody that could duplicate what we do.
Why is that? I mean, because this is such unique mud?
Yes. The geology of the area where I get it is unique to that area, and the geography, the way the river, the way the waterway bends, and how the mud settles, that's unique too.
So it bends into the Delaware.
It goes into the Delaware. Yeah, it empties into the Delaware.
So how do baseballs get this mud on them? I mean, baseballs are made by Wilson, Spalding, a lot of different baseball makers. They all send their baseballs to you, or do you bring the mud to them, or what?
No, the mud goes directly to each major league team, to their stadium. It's kept in the umpire's locker room, umpire's dressing room. At one time, it was the umpires. I guess until the mid-'70s, the umpires did all the application. Sometime in the 70s, it was passed on to the clubhouse attendant for that team.
Mm-hmm.
And he would go into the umpire's locker room and apply the mud. And from there, the umpires inspect the balls to make sure they're done right, and then they're game ready. But it's always done in the umpire's locker room.
So the mud application is only in the major leagues.
I chuckle because no, it's majors, minors, colleges, high schools. I've supplied Little League World Series. I supply internationally. I send mud to Japan or Australia, anywhere they're playing baseball or football. I send my mud, and
all from this little tributary on the Delaware.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
What, do you own a little piece of land there?
No, that the magic thing about it is, no, it's actually land that's governed by the Delaware River Basin
Commission. Yeah.
They govern this area. It's not owned by anybody. They actually love the fact that I get my mud there. But
I bet they do.
Yeah, they've invited me to speak at functions and to be present at functions, and so it's a symbiotic relationship.
So how come I never heard of this? It could be my fault, but I don't think a lot of people know about this.
That's the funny thing. There's a lot of, I don't know about now, but a few years ago, I can remember hearing that there's guys playing baseball professionally that do not know about it. So it's not something that is out there. But if you're a pitcher, something's done to the balls. You're not, they don't all know exactly what gets done, but they know that the balls are prepared. We're a word of mouth kind of thing,
Mm-hmm. But so what do you actually have the ball, and then you just rub mud on it and then wipe it off?
Yeah, what they do is they'll put a dab of mud in one palm and a drop of water, or drop or two of water, and then they'll rub their palms together, and from there they take the new ball and massage it. The way you would, if you were watching a game, the way you would see a pitcher when he gets a new ball.
Oh, yeah.
Massage it.
Yeah.
Well, they use that kind of motion to apply the mud. And usually what he's doing is he's getting a feel for it. And if there's any dried mud left on it, that's how you would get it off. That would brush it right off. But that's the exact motion that they use when they apply the mud to the ball.
So when you go out and get this mud, you look for the mud, do you go to the same place? Or, what's it like for you when you go out and get the mud?
Yes, I use the same place, same location. There's an area, maybe a couple football fields in length, that I can use the mud, but normally I just go to the same place because it replenishes itself every high and low tide.
Huh, interesting. When did you inherit this company from your father?
Well, officially, I became the president in 2000. The year 2000, my father passed it over to me. But I have been doing it as the main laborer and the shipper and the harvester. And I have been doing that since probably 1980 by myself.
Wow. Just you and your father?
Well, I have people that help me with the harvest sometimes. But as far as being the business, it's been, from 1980 on, it was pretty much my father and myself. And in 2000, he turned it over to myself and my wife, Joanne.
So you get the mud. What do? Put it in boxes, or how does it get to the stadiums and all over the country?
It's packed in little plastic containers with a screw top on them. It's like a 32 fluid ounce container. So it would be the size of like a coffee can or something like that. I pack it in there and label it and send it to each park and each spring training facility. Yeah, that's really basically the only thing that's changed since I took it over is the container. Because when I first took it over, it shipped out in metal coffee cans with plastic lids. We switched from that to plastic containers in the 90s.
What's your favorite part of the job?
Well, the working part, probably, I love doing the harvest. But my favorite part of the business is being able to talk to people, calling, asking about the mud, asking or telling me stories about when they were a kid and they did this and that. Just the people that I get to meet is the best part.
What's the funniest thing that happened?
Oh, man, that would have to be losing my shoes in the mud. Going into the mud. There's times when I'll sink in the mud, to my knees or to my lower thighs.
Really?
And trying to move around and get from one spot to another. I've lost shoes in the mud, yes. But it's basically a pretty straightforward thing. I just go out with my shovel and bucket and, load her up, bring it home to the process.
So how many people work for you? I mean, it was you and your father. Now it's you. I mean, do you have other people who dig with you? Or
my wife does all the administrative stuff. As far as the harvest, 2 years ago, I guess I started feeling old because I brought on a buddy that goes out and all he does is help me harvest.
So this really is a family business. You, your wife, from your father, and just a couple of people.
Yeah. And my daughter and my son-in-law are going to take it over.
Huh.
My son-in-law helps with the harvest, and I have the one friend that helps me carry mud. But when I'm too old and when I decide I can't do it anymore, it'll be my daughter and her husband take it over. My youngest daughter is the one that's most interested. She's always showed more interest than anybody, so going to give it to my daughter.
I'm so glad your daughter's interested to carry it on. This is a true family tradition.
Yes, sir.
I guess the question I have is one I asked a little earlier. How have you managed to keep this a secret? That it happens, it seems to me to be a secret, and where you get it seems to be a secret. It's just, there's a lot of mystery around this.
Well, it's in a very, I want to say, off-beaten place. It's not a place where a lot of people go. Usually when I go for a harvest, I don't see people. I don't see anybody. If I do see somebody, I come up with a story for why I'm getting buckets of mud. They're none the wiser.
Well, Jim, this is a really interesting thing. I represented New Jersey for 18 years. I didn't have an idea this was going on. It's been going on for over 100 years, right?
No, not yet. I think 1938, 39 was the official.
When it started.
Yeah, I know they were searching for solutions to the problem they were searching for solutions in their late 20s and early 30s. The mud didn't get really picked up by the league until 1938.
Well, Jim, I really thank you for being here, and thank you for making that great mud for Major League Baseballs in America.
Well, I appreciate your interest and giving me the time to speak with you about it. You know, it's been in baseball for 80 years or so, almost 90 years. We broke into football, too. Football is, I think, 2/3 of the NFL are using it. Colleges are using it. High schools are using it for football. So, and it's the same reason to take that gloss off the ball.
Yeah, I know about the gloss. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But you don't have anything about letting air out of the ball, do you?
No, I don't get that close. I don't get that close.
Okay. And, I'd come down and take a look at it sometime, but, I don't want you to reveal the mystery.
No, I rarely take people to the spot.
Keep it secret. That's the best way. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
I've been speaking with Jim Bintliff, the owner of Lena Blackburne Baseball Rubbing Mud. To find out more, visit us on Facebook, American Voices with Senator Bill Bradley. And we're now also on Instagram. I hope you'll check us out there too. Follow us.
Got the baseball blues because my baby got no baseball shoes.
Coming up, author Ned Baucus.
Being a woman in that era, she was not allowed to be a member of the board that she was supporting. And yet she managed to get this thing created and developed, and it took decades.
But first, FDR, folk songs, and how music can bring us together. That's coming up next. I'm Bill Bradley. You're listening to American Voices on Sirius XM Radio. Thank you for listening to American Voices here on my YouTube channel. For more interviews celebrating the goodness and creativity of the American people, click the subscribe button below.